there, welcome back to Bullbuggers. Just to start off, I want to give a shout out and a thanks to all the guys that have liked and subscribed my videos. Really appreciate it. It's nice to see the feedback as well in the comments. So keep them coming in and I will respond as soon as I possibly can. Having said that, today's video is a sugar wash. A sugar wash is very handy to have in your repertoire of recipes. It can be used for a number of things, let alone to make a neutral spirit that you can either use to make a vodka or a gin down the line. Or you can use it simply as a very cheap, cost-effective way to run your still for the first time. It helps you get any impurities out to make sure that there's any metal sediments lying inside your still. And the good thing about it is that you might not be able to drink that immediately if it's your first run, but you can reuse that in a future run and redistill it. Alright, so having said that, this recipe is known around the world as the Birdwatchers recipe, or otherwise known as a tomato paste wash. Yes, tomato paste. Basically, it is a sugar wash. That the yeast obviously uses the sugar to convert to alcohol. The tomato paste, believe it or not, acts as a yeast nutrient. And it works. It may sound a little bit weird and look weird while you're making it. You'll see in the video now, it will go a slightly pink color. But once it's distilled, once it's fermented, it starts getting better, and once you've distilled it, you'll be surprised. It's actually quite good. All right, so go over the list of ingredients we got. It's very cheap. So I got tomato paste. With the tomato paste, you don't want anything that has preservatives and stuff in it and ingredients. This brand here that I get locally, if you look at the ingredients, it's basically tomato paste and it has its own natural citric acids. So that's good. A lemon. I use normal tap water for this wash. So the lemon helps the pH level. All right. Now, even if you don't have a pH tester, it's best to put this in anyway. All right. This helps the yeast survive. As far as the yeast is concerned, normally I just use a normal local brewer's yeast that's made by a yeast company in South Africa. This packet here, I think this is a 20 gram. Yeah, 20 gram. But for this one, I'm actually just going to use plain bread yeast. All right. Again, I know some guys are going to go, but this is a cheap and cost-effective wash. So don't get too excited. This works fine. You don't need fancy yeast for this wash. So cheaper the better. I think this is about 3 rand. I'm not even going to bother converting that to dollars because it's going to end up in cents. All right, and then for the recipe then, I have 5 kilos of sugar. I'm making a 25-litre drum again to make it easier to run through the baby still. And then the last thing I have is Epsom salts. You don't need, this is an overkill, it's quite a big box, 100 grams, but Epsom salts are used to make the water harder. So for us, we like to add softness to our water when we drink it. We put it through filters and everything like that, but actually the yeast enjoys harder water. So you don't use much, it's like 1/10 of a teaspoon for this recipe. So it's just a little dab in there. It just makes the water slightly more harder and the yeast survives in it. All right, and that is it. That's all we need for this recipe. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through the process. I'm going to start off by inverting the sugar. I'm going to boil it and then dissolve the sugar. You can put this in as is. However, it's a little bit more of a bugger because you don't want to shock your yeast. So, and you need to keep stirring it to make sure that you don't have any clumps in it and stuff like that. So it's just easier, just dissolve it and then put it into your water and bonjour uncle. All right, so we get that going. Then we will put the tomato paste. We'll deal with the tomato paste afterwards. So we'll get, and then I'll talk you through each process as we're going along. All right, let's get started on the sugar. Right, so sugar's done. I've dissolved it. It's up to about here now, so that's all sorted. A bit hot, so we'll let that cool down a bit. While we're doing that, we're going to tackle the tomato paste. So now, tomato paste can be quite thick. So, oh God, don't spill it. All right, so to right, the perks of distilling. Okay, so the easiest thing to do is to dissolve it in some warm water, then just dump it in here. I could actually just dump it in here now because the sugar is quite hot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that go down. I'm going to rather do it separately. So I'm going to pour it into here. And yes, it makes a nice red color. Get that all in. This is about 240 grams. For this 25 liters. And now what I want to do, so I'm going to stir this up, and this is basically just to make sure that there's also no clumps, because if you do have a very thick one, it's great, but it's just easier and spreads out further when you stick it into your wash. So I'm going to let that sit for a bit. That's sorted. All right. So now that's going to sit and now separate nicely. I'm happy with that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that. I'm just going to add a little bit. What I've done here is I've added a little bit of the sugar that I've already dissolved into some water. It's not warm, so it's quite cool. And I'm going to put my yeast in there. That's it. And then I'm going to add my pretty simple supermarket bought bread yeast. Stick that inside there. And while I'm fiddling and faffing with the rest of the stuff, I can leave that to sit and hydrate. Alright, so the reason for that again is just basically because this has got quite a lot of sugar. We'll have lemon juice, we'll have tomato sauce paste in there. It's what we're doing is it's taking a less harsh environment and just building up, and it's actually gaining speed, it's coming to life, and it's starting to activate itself. All right, so that when we put it in here, it's not going to be as shocked as just jumping it straight into this bucket. That's as simple as it is. All right, so we clean up a bit, and we'll start with the next step. Okay, got my water in here now. So what I'm gonna, okay, so with the water, I'll just put it up here so I can pour it in. Using tap water if you want, and you feel that there's a lot of chemicals in it, or chlorine or stuff like that, then it's best to, what you want to do is aerate it. So diffuser on my tap to aerator, so it aerates the water as it comes out. But then put in a bucket and leave it for a day, right? Because then the chlorine will dissipate and you'll be good to go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a little. The Epsom salt thing is an optional. You do not have to use it. I'm literally, that's even too much. I'm going to stick it back in the box. It's literally a fraction of a teaspoon. I'm going to stir that up. It might be a little bit more than I want, but it doesn't matter. It'll help the yeast. And I'm not going to use all of this water because I've got quite a lot in there already with sugar in it. Alright, so that's all stirred up. And I'm simply now going to, hopefully that doesn't fall over, add this to my bucket. Okay, so that's that done. Now, what I need to do now is to leave this so that it cools down. I'll get my thermometer now. But actually it's not that hot anymore. So give that a good stir. I will test to see what the gravity level is with my hydrometer. Alright, I want something in the region of 1.106. I'll go over that again later. Alright, with the gravity, with the hydrometer. So once that's done, I'll let this cool down a bit, check it with my thermometer, and then see whether or not I can start adding pitching my yeast that is now starting to bubble. I'll actually give that a bit of a stir up to speed it up. Alright, so that can stand and go a bit. You can see it's nice and milky, it's getting there. And then when that's cooled down, we'll be back. Okay, so while I'm actually waiting for this to cool down, I'm just going to do the lemon. Again, if you don't have a pH tester, it's not that big a concern. Just it is advisable though to add lemon juice. I'm just going to use the strainer just to make sure I don't get any solids in there. Okay, that's good. Again, pH level with the acidity of the lemon is a good thing for the yeast. So it's not even needed to be an exact science. It'll benefit the yeast, and that's our main thing. All right, stir that up. So all we got left is the tomato paste and the yeast, which is pretty much almost ready to go in. So we're just waiting on the temperature now, and then we're good to go for the test of the gravity. So we can see what sort of alcohol we're going to get out. Right, so I'm happy that my yeast is nice and dissolved. Tomato paste, sorry. That's good to go. So I'm going to add that now into my water. And now we've got a huge color change. I'll change the camera angle now. Okay, now we're ready, and that's everything inside there that we need. So now it's just to pitch the yeast, and then we're good to go. All right, however, I bet there's a few people going, but that's not vodka. All good, like I said. The tomato paste is going to be eaten up by going to be used by the yeast anyway, so the color will change, and you'll be able to see once it's done fermenting, and then when we put it through the still, that color is all gone. All right, this is looking really awesome. Just to pitch the yeast now. All right, so we've gone through all the processes, all the ingredients in, except for the yeast. So I'm going to add that now. I've done my gravity reading, and I'm sitting at 10.1080. 1.080. So let's get this in. because I'm at a nice temp now. I'm going to sort of make sure I get all of it in there and make a mess. Alright, so, okay, so all done. Finished up with the wash. It's little bubbles starting to form on top, so I'm happy there. I'm going to make sure this is nice and sealed. I'm really pushing out. It's going to start clucking away. That's going to settle down and it'll stick to its own paste later. Alright, so this one, seriously, it is a cheap, cost-effective wash, neutral spirit. If you're going to distill it, or you have to distill it. Makes a nice neutral spirit. It is, when I say it's cheap, it literally, the most expensive thing in here is your bags of sugar. So, I mean, this entire recipe for me cost me, I think in total, about 70 bucks, rands. So, it is literally not that much at all. It is the cheapest and easiest recipe you could possibly find anywhere on the internet. Birdwatchers has been used for a long time now. Alright, so having said that, again, the versatility of this recipe is you can use it in your, if you're doing your first run in a still. I often as well will sort of suggest it that if you've got a new still and you're not sure how it works, and you've just done a batch of whiskey or a batch of brandy, rather run this one before you do your brandy through it. That way you are eliminating any variables out of it. You can see exactly how your still runs and not waste any money on it. You don't want to put your brandy through a new still and you're not sure, and then you screw it up. It's a waste of your entire process, a waste of all your fruit and whatever. So use this one first, get to understand your still, and then you're cruising. We will go through the distilling process. If you know your still, this one, if you do it through a reflux still, which I haven't shown you guys yet on my channel, but some of you will know what a reflux still is. It'll make it a lot finer spirit. I do use a reflux column on my other still. I am probably going to do this one though as I'm going to probably end up using it and making a gin out of it. So I will do the run with the sugar wash to make a vodka, and I'll do a little taste test of that. But afterwards I'm going to end up making a gin, and then we'll show you how I do a basic gin recipe. So that's something to look forward to in the future. Right guys, that's as simple as it is to make a sugar wash, tomato paste wash, and we'll be back soon. Next video will be the popcorn whiskey part 2, and with a few little added surprises hopefully coming this week. So some new things on the line. Alright, remember, if you liked the video, give us a like and a subscribe, and share with your friends. If you've got any queries or comments, drop me down below. Thanks man, cheers guys.